Double Hey, San Francisco Bay, Monterey. My name's Alex Andrew.
And I'm Dr. Shasta.
We're back with another episode of Your Healthy Living here in lovely Campbell, California.
Yes, and it's beautiful out right now.
Yeah, you said it was hot. I've been stuck in the office all day.
It's like 78 degrees out there
today.
today.
For those of you who don't know, Dr. Shasta is a very accomplished acupuncturist here in San Jose, Campbell. It's close to Campbell,
San Jose,
right?
Yeah.
And I run a wealth management firm here, and I say it's Campbell, even though I can throw a rock and hit Campbell, but I'm really in San Jose. So this is one of those things, how this hooked up, we were talking about the station, KAYS Radio, Self, Health, and Wealth. She's on the self side. I'm on the wealth side, and we're both on the self side.
And we're both on the health side.
Yes,
yeah.
I guess so. Right?
So we've just been looking for people doing positive things in our local and global community.
Right.
To be on the Your Healthy Living show. And we have a wonderful guest today named Wendy Ryan. And she has an outstanding ability to build trust and rapport with her clients. She is a leadership coach.
I like that.
And we are meeting her through our friend Jose, who was on the show.
Oh, Jose.
A couple of months ago.
Okay, so you know Jose.
I do know Jose.
Oh, okay, yes.
Isn't she fabulous?
She is.
She is, yeah.
So the women's group thing.
We promote her.
We've done a lot of shows now. I'm trying to have a hard time remembering all the people, but she stood out, definitely.
And so she really recommended Wendy, and Wendy has an ability to build trust and rapport with her clients, and her agility in assessing and engaging individuals and teams from where they are at facilitates breakthroughs and business results. She's an expert in organizational and individual assessments, leadership development, strategic visioning, and implementing organizational change from startups through middle market companies. And she has been doing this for over 18 years.
Holy Moses, 18 years.
I know.
Yeah.
It's hard to believe sometimes.
And we all need, as the business owners, I've always had a business coach. In 28 years I've been self-employed. I think that anybody who wants to succeed needs to have a coach, just like Olympic athletes have coaches.
And it's interesting. I think people have always had coaches. We just didn't kind of call them that in the 70s. You know, we always looked to somebody, like a
mentor.
Yeah, like a retiree or something that had experience to be able to help shape us. I just think it's kind of cool that, we now have an avenue where people have the profession of being able to kind of customize that to be able to help others, because we've got a lot of entrepreneurs in the world these days.
Yeah.
We do, especially here in Silicon Valley.
Oh, no kidding.
We have a lot.
Yes, we have so many, they make the houses go up in prices to where people can't afford them anymore.
Well, Wendy worked with a company for 14 years, and they were a consulting firm. And she was sharing earlier that she went from being part of the HR department to the organizational development department, and she found that she actually had a gift for it, and people started really exceeding, and she was really surprised, but continued with it. So it was kind of neat to hear how she stumbled into it, and she's been self-employed for 4 years now.
And being HR, you've always basically been helping people, because that's what HR does, right?
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. There's a common thread that runs through all of that.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, that's neat. I know, because we doing the 401k business that we do, of course, we're always talking to HR directors to try and find out, the pulse of the company. And
that's right.
You're kind of right there in the middle between the heart and the brain of what's going on and stuff.
You got it.
Oh, how neat. Well, we're going to be having a little bit more in-depth stuff about how to become a good leader. Everybody wants to become a good leader, right? I know I do, don't you?
Yes.
Well, I'm hoping we're okay leaders.
Yes, me too.
I bet you are.
But Wendy's going to tell us how to be that much better. So stay tuned. We got a really short commercial break, and we'll be right back with Your Healthy Living. Thank you.
At Way of Wellness, we help to rebalance the hormones of your body so that it can heal itself. Way of Wellness offers acupuncture, Chinese medicine, functional nutrition, Chi yoga, and wellness coaching. Call 408-615-1995 and start living the life that keeps us well.
Hey, double hey, San Francisco Bay, Monterey. My name's Alex Andrew.
And I'm Dr. Shasta.
And we're back again with Your Healthy Living segment 2. I thought that was Cayenne, Wyoming, just for a second.
Yeah, it's lemon cayenne.
I'm sorry. I was thinking about that as the break. That's what happens sometimes when you're on the show for 38 episodes, right?
Yes.
Well, we have Wendy Ryan with us, and she is a coach for leadership. And we can always do better in leadership. And with anything that we do, we always got to be reminded. I mean, even professional athletes, they're out there, they're swinging the bat and they're maybe the head of the home run kings out in baseball, but they still need to continue to have the coach.
Can always get better.
Yeah. And so from a leadership standpoint, how would you define, I mean, what's the definition, if you will, of a good leader, great leader, fantastic leader? Are there different levels?
I think so. I think there's a continuum, right?
Yes, okay. There you go.
Yeah. And, everybody has the potential to be at least good at leadership. Some people are born with some better tools to start with than others.
Right.
So some of us have a longer journey to get from okay to good, but everybody can get there.
Yeah, I was hoping to get there when I got the job as a regional director back in 1998, and it was so weird because all of a sudden I took over this region with all these people. I was just a financial advisor. I was a good one, and I thought, I'm not going to do financial advising anymore. I'm just going to take all these people and lead them down the path to righteousness. And oh, what a time I had!
I can only imagine.
I always explain it like it was like pulling a wagon without wheels, full of bricks, up a slope with sandpaper on it. I mean,
this sounds eerily familiar.
I understand. I used to have 7 treatment rooms and a bunch of assistants and employees, and I was like, I never want to do that again.
Yes, that's true.
No, it does take something to be a good leader.
It does.
And so what are some common misconceptions that people have about leadership?
Well, we already talked about the first one, which is that you're born. You're just born. Some people are just come out fully baked. I'm a great leader. And that is so rarely the case because it depends on so many experiences that we acquire over our lifetimes. It's not so much about formal education as it is really having experience with people, a variety of people and situations, and knowing how to be a little bit agile and flexible with how you show up in those situations.
And it's about bringing out the best in the people, right? And figuring out what their skills are.
Well, you kind of have to be a psychologist in essence and a mathematician. I mean, you've got to wear so many hats, I assume.
Yeah, depending on the field, because as you pointed out, you were in financial advising. So you already had a whole bunch of technical skills that you had to master.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, wait, now I need to figure out how to lead people. That's a whole nother toolbox. Yeah. And so a lot of times, leaders have to have more than one toolbox at their disposal. And the leadership one is the one that can really grow.
And you said that you work with small to mid-sized companies.
Primarily, yeah.
And so do you have any success stories that you'd like to share with us that you particularly know, you turn something around or you help someone discover their leadership skills and something amazing happened?
Measure that from going from here to here kind of thing.
Yeah. How do you define success, right? I think that's the first thing that strikes me is everybody defines it a little differently. So in my practice, I am really a stickler for let's create a plan at the beginning. Let's have some goals. And the people that have really been most successful, because the success really always depends on the client. It's really somewhat of what I'm bringing to the table, but it's mostly what they put into it. So having that upfront contract and that upfront framework of what are we going to work on and what are your goals? Because imagine for a second, I've worked with people who said, I just want to be a more effective leader. I just want to be better. It's like, that's great, but what does that really mean to you? Because that might mean something to me, something different to you, something different to you.
Right.
So we start with that, and then we drill into behaviorally, what are we really talking about? Are you meaning that you just want to get more organized, so you get more done? Do you mean that you want to learn how to give feedback to people in a way that they don't run out of your office crying? What is it that means to you?
Right. You have to have that starting point somewhere, and then a vision of where you want to go.
That's right.
I mean, even as much we were talking before the show about leadership being that pretty much everybody has some sort of leadership role in their life. I mean, to survive, you kind of have to.
Yes.
Whether you're a father or a mother or a teacher or, just somebody who's helping somebody get through a rough situation. I would guess that's considered a leader, right?
It is to me. I think anybody who enables or inspires somebody to act And they're doing so not just for their own benefit or welfare, but to get something else to happen. That's a leader in my book.
Right.
And so it doesn't have to come with a title or authority, like we may have traditionally thought. It's really more of a function. It's more of a role.
So how when you sit down with someone, do you spend like a half an hour to an hour figuring out what they want to be a good leader in, what their goals are, what would be specific measurable results that would come out of it? And then what do you meet? Do you meet with them once a week, every other week? And do you do this with just individuals or teams? How do you work?
Great questions. Very frequently people contact me because they've heard of me or they've heard of the firm from somebody else who I've worked with before. So that's the most common way that we get in touch. And then we always start out and we have a meeting, and that's usually more of like an hour, 2 hours, where we go through what is it you're looking to accomplish. Tell me about you. I want to hear about how people have grown up. I want to hear about what were some of their early career experiences so that I understand the context in which they have these particular goals. Why are these goals important to you? That's so important in the process to understand that.
Right.
And then we create a plan, and then it just really depends on what the nature of that plan is. Do we want to do some assessment? Do we want to meet weekly for coaching? Is once a month going to be sufficient? What's your timeline?
Right. Wonderful.
So is it kind of like having a binder, or, I mean, is everybody, do you customize it for people? Because I know some people are computer people. They got to have it, on the computer and have their schedule going. And for me, I like to write it down. I like to have my stuff.
I like to write it down.
Make it go through my head and out my hand. I suppose it's the
Me
same
too.
with typing, but since I only have 9.5 fingers, I keep missing that U and the T up there. So.
Yeah, it's really...
I write everything down, too. I much prefer
I
to
do like
visually
to write
see
it
it
down,
and write
but-
it down. Then I feel like I'll remember it, like just typing it.
Well, to me, it's like it comes from that reality thing. I know when I was kind of going through my divorce and everything, and I was trying to figure out where I wanted to go, I felt like when I put something down on paper, it was the first thing that made it real.
Yes.
And then, again, reminder, why do we need a coach to meet with every week or month or quarter? I suppose you kind of break it up, start with every day every week and work from there.
Yeah. Again, so I would say we take a very customized approach. I just believe that one size does not fit all. So
Right.
I believe in structure and process, but they have to serve the situation, and everybody's different. So
Do companies hire you for individual leaders?
yes,
Okay.
individual leaders, but very frequently teams. Or I work with organizations where they have a process that as a leadership team they need to accomplish. So, for example, I recently worked with a nonprofit organization that was concerned about future sustainability. And so I led a process with 60 community members and their leadership team and their board of directors. And we just facilitated a series of really structured and deep conversations about what did we think about future sustainability? What were the important things for the board to be looking at long term? So that's not necessarily leadership development in the sense of coaching, but it's more like facilitation.
Sure.
But it's still the work of leaders.
Absolutely.
And it's helping leaders get that work done.
Yeah.
Do the
that makes sense.
Do the CEOs ever come to you and say, maybe I better move that guy out of that leadership position, or what do you think?
Yeah,
You
once
do
in a
get
while.
that?
I do
was
get
going to say, I would figure it's like if I'm a CEO, which I am, I sit there and I go, wonder if I don't want to fire the guy, but maybe he'd work really good in the mailroom.
Certainly some of that. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Well, now there's 3 important factors I think that. Of course, we always fall back to the power of 3. I like 3, 7, 21 over 4. Don't
Me
ask me
too.
what it is. It's just the way it works, right? 7-year itch turns into the 3-year glitch and so on. So one of the things I think that we want to talk about right after the break is what are the 3 qualities that make a good leader,
Excellent.
right? Do you want to know? I want to know. Do you want to know?
Yes.
I'm going to know.
Okay,
We're
good.
all going to know if you stick around right after this break. My name's Alexandru.
Dr. Shasta.
You're tuned in to Your Healthy Living.
I do traditional Chinese medicine, and that includes 5 different branches: acupuncture, massage, yoga, tai chi, qigong, herbal medicine, and nutrition. It is amazing in helping the body heal itself. that it releases the body's natural endorphins, serotonin, and seems to rebalance the hormones of the body.
Lower back pain was taken care of very quickly. 6 treatments and I was pain-free. And this was like 3 years ago and I've remained pain-free.
I've grown up in the Bay Area and I have had my own practice for over 15 years. When I was 12, I decided I want to be an acupuncturist, and by the time I was 25, I was licensed.
I have thyroid condition and stress, big time. When I walk out, I'm feeling like a whole different person. It's definitely a blessing to be able to come here.
I love helping women have babies, and the day that they actually get pregnant, the look in their eye is like, it's the best thing ever.
I've been struggling trying to get pregnant for the past 3 or 4 years. I came to Shasta. I would totally recommend her to anyone out there that is trying to get pregnant. She will do great for you.
Way of Wellness has to do with living a life that keeps us well.
Hi there, this is Alexander with It's All About the Show. You know, I've been with Money Concepts since 1994, and they have been the primary catalyst for my success as a financial advisor. If you're looking for a career change and you want to help people for a living, check out moneyconcepts.com/ALEE or call 946-8378 today. Hey, everybody. My name's Alexander.
And I'm Dr. Shasta.
And we're having fun on the break here at the
Your Healthy Living Show. Yes.
And we're talking to Wendy Ryan, who's a leadership coach. And
Yes.
Right before the break, we were talking about the 3 primary qualities that you need to have. Now, if you don't have these qualities, don't worry. You still can learn them, right?
Yes, you can.
Wendy can
Yes.
teach them to you. So just don't worry if you don't have them. But if you have them, and don't pat your back on them, too hard on your own back either. But what
be grateful.
are the 3 qualities that a leader has?
Well, I feel like we should have a little drum roll first.
Okay.
I do. I'm
Ready?
a drummer,
Okay.
Okay.
So I would say in order of priority, first one is self-awareness.
I like that.
You've got to understand who you are and how you show up to other people,
Oh, gosh.
right? That is number 1. You got to know that. Number 2 is you've got to have a desire to take charge a little bit, not because you want to control, rule the world, but that you feel like you want to make a difference in something or someone or some situation. Some people really don't have that sense.
They're more shy, I guess.
Yeah, they're more shy,
Yes,
or they really prefer to have other people lead the way.
Right.
Some people are just, you can acquire it, but the ability to say, oh, there's an opportunity here for someone to come in and lead.
Right.
And I think the third thing is really emotional intelligence. And self-awareness is a component of that, but it means being able to, as I talk about, meet people where they're at, understand what their needs are, and how you can support that.
You have to have a little empathy, basically.
Have to have
too.
empathy.
Right.
Yeah.
Emotional intelligence.
Emotional connection,
And,
too.
Yeah.
Yes. Intelligence isn't just where it's at. It's emotional
Yes.
intelligence. And I think being an HR director, that's something you had to deal with all the time,
Yes.
right? So
Yeah.
which
And
is
I
probably
think
why you're doing what you're doing.
If you can emotionally connect to people, then you
Right.
can bring out the best in them.
Yeah.
That's what I think a leader would. I know my coaches have done is they see the best in me, and even when I don't see it, and they encourage me and believe that I can.
But I do think there's that aspect to, of course, and here I am thinking, coach. I had my gymnastics coach, and he was like, hey, man, that's it. 50 more push-ups. Do more handstand push-ups. Get it in there. You got to get it done. I'm like, oh, man, I'm so tired. I mean, I got to guess you got to do that to people, right? I mean, you got to
people-
crack the
yeah.
whip. Having emotional intelligence is great, but it's like,
Yeah,
oh, that's okay.
it's true, you
Don't
do.
worry about it. Just go in your little safe space over there, and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
You gotta punch people into that, right?
Yeah, there's a certain aspect of being a leadership coach that you have to be fearless. You really do, because you have to be able to challenge people when they need to be challenged. So you've got to create that safe space for people to tell you what's really going on with them.
Right.
They have to feel like they can be vulnerable, and then you can go in and grab them. No, but then you can come from that place, and they trust you, so that when you say, I'm calling you on that behavior, that's not okay, or is that really consistent with the goals that that we've
Right.
established. No, there's already trust built.
Do
And
you
that's
have-
the difference.
Do you have any you were talking earlier about successes. Would you like to share another one with us?
Sure. Well, it's always hard to talk about successes because I always see it as the client was the one who was successful. It wasn't about me.
Right.
But I think in terms of the audience and what might be kind of fun to hear about are the times that people come in and they are the naysayers and the doubters, and I sit down with them, and frequently I remember one situation where I was working with a client who was at a pretty high level in an organization. The organization was going through a lot of change, which is not uncommon. And this particular individual really was very skeptical of me and of what I might be able to do to be helpful to him. And it took several sessions and several meetings for him to sort of go from the crossed arms and, I'm not buying any of this, to really just starting to talk a little bit about himself. And it was a pretty long process. But eventually we got to the place where he said, this is not as bad as I thought it was, which was a huge success.
Right.
And he was able to make some shifts that were fundamental to the company getting where it needed to go. Had he not been able to sort of come to terms with what he needed to change, because he was looking at everybody else to change.
Everything's
him.
outside.
Right.
And that's where the self-awareness comes in, I think. To be self-aware is to know who you are, to love yourself enough to be able to love others. Because personally, I believe you can't love anybody else unless you have that love for yourself inside your heart to be able to spread outside.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is key with knowing that you need to take advice from somebody who knows more than you do, even though you don't want to talk to them. Because I'm that way.
That's right.
The guy tries to sell me something. First thing, oh God, here we go. I cross the arms and was like, yeah, try and sell me, buddy. Next thing you know, I'm writing a check for $6,000. Here you go. Thanks. That's a great vacuum cleaner. Wow. Oh my gosh. It happens every time. We're a good salesman.
That's right.
And they're kind of
That's
leaders
right.
too. You talk about born leaders earlier and whatever. How can you tell if somebody's a born leader and what qualities do they have? I mean, what is that all about?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, some people just kind of come out of the womb, it seems, with a desire to take charge a bit.
Right.
And some people are just more extroverted. They really like interacting with people, and that helps a lot with leadership. I think those are two things that it makes it easier if you start from that point.
Right.
Do you think, and again, I'm just kind of thinking out loud here, with kids, raising kids or something, the way kids are raised has something to do with their personality. I mean, I know I've got my bonus kids now, and they've completely changed their personality. I don't know if it's a good thing since I've been taking over them, but there's so much more like up front and wild and outgoing. I mean, that has to have something to do with leadership.
Yeah, for
Right.
sure. For sure. Experience, again, teaches us a lot.
Right.
And some of the best leaders have had the most averse childhoods. It's really interesting. You think that having a really difficult situation in your upbringing is going to be all negative when it comes to leadership or it comes to outcomes, but really not necessarily. It's so individual what you do with that. Although I think in all of those success stories that individuals have, and I've worked with some amazing people like that, they always had at least one or two people in their lives that sort of played that role of coach, mentor,
Right.
and gave them that role model to shoot for.
To keep them from getting depressed about their situation as opposed to, here, look at what I'm learning.
Right.
This is what this has taught me
Right.
how to be better.
Right.
Yeah. I think that two people together, thinking together when they're in a positive frame of mind can come up with more than just one person on their own.
It's almost a third mind,
Agree.
the way I look at it.
It's like all these
right?
negative conversations we as human beings just naturally have.
Well,
all
the
of
power
us.
the power of two is
The power
multiplied.
of two is multiplied. So when
logarithmic,
I mean,
right.
and I think it's same for athletes. They get a great coach. They get on a great team with great chemistry with the other people. Like beach volleyball players, you get on with the right person with the right chemistry.
Right.
Next thing you know, you've got a magical team.
Right.
And I just think if people want to go to that next level, getting a coach is transformational.
It creates a separate entity with the same goals and values that the individual had before. So
Yeah.
Boy, we're getting deep here.
It is. It's
I like
the power of possibility.
That's right.
And also has a lot to do with the listening that the coach has for the person, and the experience. If the coach has seen successes, then the coach knows what's possible.
Right.
And they can bring that out in a person. And so, Wendy, I just think it's wonderful what you're doing. Are there any other success stories, like with whole companies, you'd like to share with us? And I know we only have about a minute and a half left, but
yeah.
What else would you like people to know they could hire you for?
Yeah, well, I think, again, there's a constellation of needs and opportunities that we have in leadership. And some of that is at the individual level, as we've been talking about. Some is at the team level, because so much of what we do as leaders really has to be accomplished through teamwork. We really can't do it on our own, all by ourselves, unless maybe you're Dr. Shasta.
Oh. Right. I have partners.
And then there's the organizational level, and it's how do we get lots of leaders and lots of people all moving in the same direction, and toward the same set of goals. And I particularly love working with organizations that are mission driven. I do have a mix of clients from different sectors, but I love the fact that several of my clients right now are nonprofits. I'm working with a city government. And I love that because it's a whole set of drivers. Mm-hmm. And so the kind of work we do together is really tied to the mission and tied to what they're trying to do in the world.
Well, that's part of that whole big business plan. If somebody wanted to get a hold of you, how do they get a hold of you, Wendy?
Best way to get a hold of me is to visit our website, www.sjleadershipcoach.com.
SJ for San Jose.
Yes.
There we go.
Well, Wendy, thank you so much for what you do and for being a leader and having the courage to be a leader and help others be leaders.
Thanks so much for having me. It's been really fun.
Thank you, Wendy.
Don't
forget to tune in to our show at 6:30 on Monday night on Channel 15, San Jose and Campbell. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget to check out the KIYS Video Web Radio Network. Kindness in your soul. Take care, everybody. Have a good one. Bye-bye.